Today marks day one of my quest to throw pain-free 90 miles per hour. And to be honest, guys, I feel like I'm a little bit crazy for even considering doing this. You see, I haven't played a competitive baseball game in over 12 years. My career was cut short due to extensive injuries and a surgery that still give me problems even to this day. But here's that question I just can't get out of my head. If I were to take all of the knowledge that I've learned over the years, would I still be able to throw 90 miles an hour while protecting my Thomas Jonathan? For those of you guys who are new here, my name is Bobby O'Neill. I'm a retired minor league pitcher who's now a D2 college pitching coach, and I've dedicated the last decade of my life to help athletes not make the same mistakes I did. And I've always wondered what I would have done with the knowledge I have now while I was still playing. But a wise friend once told me that these are the good old days. So I'm gonna track everything. I'm gonna track my mechanics, velocity, strength, recovery. I'm gonna share my successes as well as my setbacks. I'll be partnering with a physical therapist who's gonna be joining me every step of the way, and I'll be analyzing my own delivery using the same lens that I've used to help hundreds, if not thousands of athletes achieve their max potential over the last decade. And with injuries at an all-time high in the game of baseball, I need to be clear about this. This is not just about chasing 90. It's about discovering what it really takes for a pitcher to get the most out of their body, their arm, and out of their career. Welcome to the journey. So this is my good friend, Dr. Cam. He's the man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your credentials?
I would go Cameron Ackerman, PT, DPT, OCS, SCS, and then FAAOMPT. A lot of words, but that's what I do.
One of the first things that Dr. Cam and I talked about was my pain. I've been having issues with my back, my shoulder, my elbow, and apparently my knee. The first test was to address my back pain, so my T-spine extension was trash.
Are you trying to bend?
Yes.
Holy
I'm telling you, dude, I need help.
I had negative 10 degrees at my resting T-spine position, which means I'm basically in flexion when I'm standing neutral, which is very bad. But that actually makes sense why my shoulder and my elbow are always hurting, because there's a direct correlation between the way the T-spine moves and the way the shoulder is able to go into external rotation. So if you're limited with your T-spine extension, it adds stress to the shoulder, which makes the elbow have to work harder. Next, we went over my hip abduction, which was really surprising for me because I assumed that my hip abductors were weak, but in fact they were strong. So that may be giving me another theory on why my back leg has a tendency to collapse. Next was to test my shoulder range of motion, and to be honest, I was actually very surprised to find out that I'm hypermobile in my left shoulder.
like the tire flailing inflatable
So
man.
you're saying I don't have any muscles. So that's
No
what you're saying.
muscles.
And I was even more surprised to see that my right shoulder matched my left shoulder's external rotation, but I was very interested to see that my right shoulder internal rotation was actually trash.
You're off by 20 degrees, dude. That's trash.
Which means even though I'm in the safe range for my total range of motion with my shoulder, because my left arm is more mobile than my right arm, I'm actually experiencing tightness in my internal rotation, which could be one of the reasons why my shoulder tends to get aggravated when I throw.
You want to be within 5 to 10 degrees of the total range.
And I'm 20 right now.
That's some work
Trash.
to do.
Next, we did some testing on my elbow, and if I'm being perfectly honest, I was a little concerned about this one. But after going through a few UCL tests, it appears that my elbow still seems to be intact in the Thomas Jonathan region. However, it does appear that I do have some nerve issues in my elbow that may be causing some tingling in my hand, so we're gonna be keeping an eye on that on this road to pain-free 90. Next, we went into my shoulder strength, and let me tell you, I was not expecting this.
That's as hard as you got? For you being as big as you are, that was weak, bro. That was really all you had? Sometimes I think you're joking with me, bro.
I was actually blown away by the fact that my shoulder external rotation was so weak. I've been throwing my long toss, I've been doing my J-bands, but my shoulder is still absolute dog water. I'm 57th percentile strength in my right shoulder, and that could not be more aggravating for me. This is something I'm going to be targeting so much in my program.
Obviously, if we're road to 90, we need to step our game up.
The next portion of the test was for shoulder internal rotation strength. Not to flex, but I was in the 99th percentile for this test, but Dr. Cam actually blew me away with the following statement.
You know, there's no research to show that helps you throw a 90, so you got good stuff, but you know, that doesn't really matter.
My numbers for shoulder abduction were actually quite the opposite. They were terrible. So Dr. Cam had to compare me to my 1.5-year-old daughter, and that made me want to push a little harder, and I ended up doing slightly better on my right shoulder, but it was still weak. I got to work on that.
Hear all that popping?
Actually felt it.
The way my brain works is I'm constantly observing everything, and I noticed that every time I was doing one of these tests, Dr. Cam was having to dodge my fist completely, so I had to ask him.
Have you ever been punched in the face by a client?
Never.
You have to dodge every time.
I know, I never have though. 2, let's. And push. Come on, let's.
And I was feeling pretty good about my shoulder scaption numbers until Dr. Cam turned my hand around and this happened.
Push.
What does that mean?
So usually that's gonna hurt for any shoulder problem, but most likely an impingement. And then you can exacerbate the pain by probably doing this. Ready? Push up.
So that was mildly discouraging because I had a similar issue with the Diamondbacks, and it was actually a precursor to my rotator cuff tearing, ending up having to have a surgery. So we're gonna keep an eye on that.
This is a risky freaking project that I'm taking on because apparently I have a shoulder impingement and an ulnar nerve issue.
But I think we can help you. So far, I would say you're decently strong. You're just stiff.
Well, that's kind of my concern a little bit though, dude. Literally every time I go out and I try and throw max effort, it freaking hurts.
But you're also throwing max effort without a plan. You're just kind of helping other guys without a plan for yourself.
And then I proceeded to sulk to Dr. Cam about how this might not be a good idea and how my shoulder, my elbow, and my back are always hurting. And then he snapped me out of it and locked me right back in.
Please go, 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 and relax. Well, you got freaking MLB grip strength, 158 on the left. 3, 2, 1, and go, 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 go! Nice.
Fun fact for the audience, I used to be a lumberjack growing up.
Grip strength's elite.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Just rely only on grip strength, nothing else. So if we have the pie here, and this is your pie, and we go,
Let me talk about my pie, bro.
this would be mobility of specifically the T-spine and the glenohumeral joint. The next would probably be shoulder strength, and then this would be the low-hanging fruit, force plate data, on how you would get to 90 plus. Let's do a test on the force plates. Go. Go. This is going to be very interesting. So honestly, the fans will probably appreciate the most because it's more of a performance metric, and I think it might play a huge part in your road to 90. So good and bad. Good because you have a lot of data to work with. Bad because this is not going to be easy, unfortunately. So you'll have a whole entire plan that I'm going to provide you, and then all you have to do is put in the work. So that's the hard part.
So I have to ask you this because this is like the biggest thing that's on my brain. Obviously, I have to support Nora. You talked about Nora before. If I go down with an injury, that's going to mess up my stuff at APU. That's going to mess up my in-person clients. Going to lose revenue. There's a lot of risks associated with this whole plan. So I don't know, you got to kind of walk me through that, man, because I feel like this is a great concept. I want people to understand how difficult and challenging it's going to be. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not chasing 90 for the sake of playing pro ball anymore. So what do you think, man? Like, is it even worth my time? Is it worth the potential risk of tearing a UCL or tearing up my kneecap because I can't even squat jump without it hurting? What do you got on that?
That's tough. I would say at the stage of life that you're at, this can mess up your life. So really it's key that you monitor how you feel and speak up to me on how you feel so that we can modify the plan so that you can continue to provide for the family, continue to provide for your team, continue to provide for yourself. So the goal is to make the plan so robust that you don't get hurt, but with any risk of trying to gain velo, you are risking and playing with fire a little bit. But that was part of the reason on why we spent all this time doing the assessment. So as long as you had an assessment, you get some sort of overview plan on what you should do. Now you go and do it and then speak up to your team on how you're doing.
Do you think it's even possible? I mean, I know I touched 87 recently, but do you think it's possible to get back to pain-free 90 just looking at the assessment and looking at the metrics and everything? Or do you think I should push for pain-free 90?
I think you should.
All right, let us know in the comments if that's what I should go for. This is definitely something I'm inspired to do, and I think it's already inspiring a lot of my clients, a lot of my athletes. I think it's going to inspire a lot of you guys, but ultimately, like Dr. Cam said, if you don't have a team and you're just chasing quick results, I'm hoping by the end of this, you guys are going to notice that it's not an easy task, and there's a lot of things that you have to do to make this happen. But yeah, I'm willing to put myself on the line to show you guys how difficult it is to be a 90-mile-an-hour pain-free thrower.
Amen.
All right, so after sitting down and taking a look at the numbers, it appears that I got my work cut out for me. Dr. Cam assessed that my shoulder external rotation is absolute trash and that needs to get worked on and be priority number 1, but he mentioned the fact that I'm 231 pounds. Now, what Dr. Cam doesn't know is when I was throwing 95 miles an hour, I was actually 225 pounds, so I'm actually gonna take it up a notch. If I'm gonna be throwing pain-free at 90 miles an hour, I need to be in the best possible shape of my life. So I'm gonna be shooting for 210 pounds, which is probably the lightest I've been since before college. Aside from my T-spine mobility issue, this may be the most difficult part of the journey, but if it's gonna help inspire some of you guys and it's gonna get me in shape in the process, I'm so game. Let's go. And to summarize the force plate data, it says I'm old, fat, and I need to move more explosively. I was originally planning on doing a baseline velocity test, but because of the condition of my shoulder and back, I'm gonna hold off high intensity throws until I get those numbers more in the green. So if all goes according to plan, you guys are gonna see a video update next month showcasing my progress on my strength, my mobility, and my throwing mechanics. But in the meantime, if you want to keep track on a weekly basis, I'm going to be posting a short form video every single week on all platforms. If you have any recommendations for how I should be going about this pain-free 90 journey, feel free to drop a comment below. Also, if you're currently going through some pain issues, feel free to drop a comment as well, and I'll try and do my best to help you out. Take care, guys. God bless.